do not see anything.
That's a PowerPoint.
Hola.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. My name's Brooke. Most of you will know me already. I've been liaising with you all via email for the last couple of months. I would like to introduce you to my colleague, Kathy. She works with Accommodation Services and she's going to be running you through some information on accommodation today. I also have my colleague, Claire, from the Global Programs team here today. A number of you probably will have emailed her too. She's going to be taking notes about any questions that you guys have if we need to get back to you with answers later. If you're having any problems hearing us, please let us know. Otherwise, if you can all keep your microphones on mute for now, there is the capability to type a question, but if everyone's got their volume on, then unfortunately it becomes a little bit of a mess of noise. So if I can just ask you guys to all please stay on mute, and I'll pass over to Kathy.
Hi everyone. So today's webinar, I thought we'd just go through some accommodation information for you. I'm just going to let you know about the guarantee, the accommodation guarantee, how to apply if you haven't already done so, some dates that we need to talk about, the offer rounds, living in a student residence, some information also for graduate students if that applies to you. That wouldn't be too many of you. Contacting us, and of course, as Brooke said, any questions we can go through. So I'll do a bit of an overview and then you can jump in at any time or we can answer those questions at the end. So the good news is ANU has an undergraduate accommodation guarantee that will apply to you. So that's for all the first year undergraduates coming in here to study for the first time. If you make your application, which I'll talk about the dates in a moment, you do the application, you receive your academic offer and accept it, then we will offer you a place in a student residence at ANU. And all the information, those links are online on the accommodation website, and we can put those links up. You'll see them through here. But yeah, make yourself familiar with that. So the application, if you haven't already done so, it is online, as I said, it's free to register and there's no obligation, and one application covers all residents. So when you go on, it's just simply a case of putting in your details, contact details. You'll get to choose one preference of residence, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. One preference of residence, some contact details, medical stuff. Now, that's something I really encourage you. If you have any conditions that you need to confidentially let us know about, please do. Don't be shy to do that, because we use that information to make sure that we can place you in the correct location. You also need to remember that when we talk about preferences, you will get to choose one, but that's something we can't guarantee. We have a high volume of people coming in, and while we would love to put everyone in their chosen residence, we can't do that. Our residents are placed in each area based on demographics. We have to have a very even split of male, female, domestic, international, and courses studied. So that's what we're looking at. We're not trying to personalise it. We'll certainly look at your preference and do what we can to meet that. But if we can't, we will put you in the next vacancy that we have. So it's important to remember that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in depth in a moment. Now, the critical dates, so the application's already opened on the 20th of August and they close at midnight on the 19th of December. So you have to have a full complete application in to be considered. Anything late or incomplete, we won't be able to look at that for you. So as I said, no guarantee of the preference you've selected. You've got to be willing to accept the accommodation we offer. So you've got enough time now to go online and look at all the student residents that apply to you. They're on there and they're marked whether they're undergraduate, postgraduate, etc. So look at all the different styles, catered, self-catered, and just make yourself familiar with each location, because you could go to any one of those, as we've said. If you don't, when you receive the offer, if you don't accept the offer we send you, we won't be able to make you any further offers. So you will have to go off campus then. We're not going to make an alternative offer to you. So just be really mindful of that, because you've got to weigh up, even if you get offered something that's a little bit more expensive than what you hoped, for example, weigh up what that would be if you went off campus compared to paying that little higher tariff on campus that you hadn't budgeted for. So, you know, there's a couple of things to think about there. Also, we offer single accommodation. So if any of you are coming with a partner or couple, we've only got limited accommodation for couples. There are some double rooms, but it's all single accommodation, and people bringing families have to stay off campus. So I'm not sure how much that applies to you, but just keep that in mind. So when we talk about the accommodation offers, the offers are made via email, and that's the part that you remember. So after they close, we send them out via email. Now, the important thing is the email address that you list in your application is where all correspondence is going to go to. So please make sure that you're able to monitor that account. If you can't, then you have to make sure that you've got someone that can act on your behalf. If you're going to be traveling, you just can't do that. Make sure you have someone that you trust that can go and check it for your offer, accept it, make the payment, etc. And it's really important that if you have an agent acting on your behalf and they've made the application, please check with them the email address that they have put in there, because if they've put their own email address in and they don't respond to it when we start offers, you're going to be the one that's going to miss out, because we won't be able to send it out to different locations. So just please be really mindful of that. If you receive your accommodation offer over a weekend or public holiday and you have any difficulties, please don't panic or get concerned about it. Just email back immediately to where you got it from, saying that you just need to talk to someone, you're having problem making a payment, for instance, or there's just some issue, and we will contact you on that first business day back at work. All we want you to do though is to correspond with us. If we don't hear, we'll assume you don't want it and we will lapse the offer and you're going to miss out. So if you've got an issue, just reply back and we'll work with you. The only thing we're not going to do though is if you write back to say, well, actually I didn't want that residence that you sent this out and I'd like another one, We're not going to be able to change that. As I said, this is going to be seriously just talking about payment and acceptances, nothing else at this stage. As an international student, you need to have accepted your academic offer to ANU by the 11th of January, so paying your course fee. So that's part of the conditions of the accommodation guarantee for international students. And that helps us know that you are coming, that you're committed and you've made your payment, and then we can make accommodation offers to you. So the offers will start after the closing date of applications. So as I said, this year they close at midnight on the 19th of December. So we're going to start on the 20th of December, and we will roll those out all through that period until we've got everyone placed. Now, we don't make them all in one go. So on the 20th, don't expect that you may receive one. What we do is do them on a rolling basis, and that comes down to trying to look at your preference. So you may have selected, say, Burton and Garran Hall, and we will make our first lot of offers based on the beds for that area. We have to then wait to see who accepts and declines, etc., to see if we've got more beds left at that location, and keep offering until we fill that area up. Once we fill that up and we have to move on, then we'll go to the next preference from there. So that 48 hours, that goes through a couple of offer rounds, and that will be over that Christmas period. And shortly we will put up the hours that will work over Christmas. So they'll only be shorter times because it's actually a university break, but we will be offering through that Christmas period. So it's important that you do check your email through there, just to make sure that, you know, you don't miss anything from us. But just sort of for your own timelines, anything from the 20th of December and probably right up until the first week, second week in January is when we'll be still doing offers. So if your friend gets an offer on one day and you haven't, please don't be concerned. While you're always welcome to contact us, just keep in mind what we spoke about, that they're going out on different times. So it doesn't mean anything if they get one and you don't straight away. It's just the timelines that we're going to be working through. A couple of things, and this is probably the most important thing that I really want to get across, is about the contract dates and arriving, etc. So for next year, check-in dates are going to be either the 1st or the 6th of February, and that's going to be depending on where you're offered. Your offer letter will tell you where you're going, and it'll tell you the contract dates. If you need to arrive a little bit earlier, you can contact your residents after you accept your offer, but that's only going to be for an early arrival if you need to come a couple of days earlier. Sometimes they can assist you and sometimes not, but you're always welcome to check with them. The important part though is the contract end dates. When you're accepting this accommodation offer, remember you are accepting a legal contract that requires you to pay from the start to the end date of the contract, regardless of when you choose to arrive or when you leave. Now, this is really important. I know it's really exciting coming and you're not thinking about the end at this time, but this is just like any normal legal contract. Whether you lived off campus, on campus, you've got some obligations you're going to have to meet. So different areas have different contract end dates, and you need to make yourself very familiar with those when you accept them, because we cannot alter those. And I can't stress that enough. So the 2019 contracts, some are going to end on the 4th of December, but if you're in one of our 4 of our uni lodges, the dates are going to be either the 31st of December, and that's for people living in Davey and Kinloch Lodge. If you accept an offer for Lena Carmel or Warrnambool Lodge, that contract goes to the 31st of January 2020, because they're 52-week contracts and we cannot change those. As much as we'd love to let people go when they want to, we can't do that. These are, as I said, they're legal contracts and you're obligated to pay. Now, at certain times, up to certain points, we can certainly work with you if you put in early departure and say you're leaving, if that's approved, and we can find a replacement for you. That is certainly acceptable, but I have to stress at certain times of the year, there aren't people looking for accommodation to take over contracts at the end of the year because they have their own accommodation and their own obligations somewhere else. So there's no one. So while you can do that, know that you will be paying cancellation fees and paying until that room is filled if you leave. So that's something, come back to ask us any questions, but please think about that going in, because it's a world of pain if you don't really. So if you're going to stay on in 2020, also know that you'll be invited to go through a returners process. If you have a year, the 12-month contract or the 43-week contract, you will go through a returners process to be considered for accommodation the following year. Being a returner doesn't guarantee you a place in the following year, but you certainly will be, able to go through that process, and we will do what we can, noting that we have to have places again for the new people coming through. And I'll just step back when we talked about contracts for those of you that are coming for one semester. So we certainly offer one semester contracts, and you'll see that if you've applied already or you're about to apply. Now, I'll just also give you some information. In our ANU owned and operated residence, the semester one contract is going to finish on the 4th of July. If you're in one of our uni lodges, these dates have to be determined yet. We're still currently looking at some graduation dates, etc. But the semester one contracts will end around anywhere from the 5th to the 12th of July, as I said, to be confirmed. What I suggest to you is, if you get an offer from one of our lodges and you only want the one semester, once you check in, if you're happy knowing this, accept it, please speak to the staff as soon as you can, explaining what are the dates, find out your obligations from there so you know. Because again, it applies the same. If you're leaving, we fully understand that, but you're also in a contract that you're required to pay for. So just a little bit about that. That's an important thing to think about. So just a little bit of an overview about our student residents. So in 2019, I should say, we're going to have just under 6,000 students that will reside in accommodation here. So that's a huge amount that live on campus. We try and keep a really even split of our cohort. So currently it's around 47% international, along with 53% domestic students that make up our residents. So you can see it's a really nice balance. In all of our residents, we have really good pastoral care, academic support, and a huge range of activities to get involved in. So there's sport, musicals, debating, art, there's nothing that they don't do. So each of our residents offer this. One's not offering something that the other's not. It's just different locations and different types of buildings. There's newer buildings, there's the older style student residence. So you're going to have the same experience wherever you go. So bear that in mind. There's, senior residents, there's residential life managers, community coordinators, there's all different types of leadership members around that will be able to help you, along with, staff in the halls that can help you through the day with making payments and just general, help through there. Lots of people to meet. So that's the message that we're saying. You can see at the bottom, the experience. It's not a particular residence. You're not going to have an experience because you go to a particular residence. It's going to be what you put into it. It's not the place. You'll have a great time wherever you go. So just keep an open mind, as I said, and you'll be fine. So we just talked about the residents being chosen. We talked about demographics. So just to explain a little bit of that, all of our residents, with the exception of Bergman College and John 23rd, we use auto allocation just to allow for transparency in placement and preferences. If you don't receive your preference, it's not personal. It's just, as I said before, we've only got limited bed numbers because we have returning students. And we have to make sure that the demographics in each area are balanced. We can't have sort of all girls living in one hall or boys living in the other. We've got to have an even split of male and female, courses, domestic, international. And we've also got to think about people that have got actual special medical requirements and needs that need to go to certain areas. Johns and Bergman still apply through us. So if you want to preference those, certainly that application comes through us. But Johns and Bergman will look at their applications and they may contact you as well, separate to this process. They may email you, they may call you. So that's just something that they do. You won't get that from our residents. So if you do get any contact for them and you've preferenced them, that's the reason why. So from there, just a bit about the room type, so you know things that you'll have when you get here. So everyone gets wherever you go, you're going to have your own single room. we don't share anyone, don't twin share people. You'll have a bed, desk, basin, chair, wardrobe. You know, as I said, some of the older residents, some are new, so the configurations slightly vary, but that is what you're going to have. You have to clean your own room, unfortunately. While we have cleaners that do all the common areas and bathrooms, you know, you still have to be responsible for your own room. You can certainly borrow vacuum cleaners, etc., from staff, but that is on you, and they do room inspections, so you can't sneak it past them. Please always check with staff or your senior resident or appropriate person before you use any appliances in your room. Things like heaters, rice cookers, fans, they can't be used for safety reasons. You can't cook in your room unless you live in a self-contained studio, but always check before you take anything in there. So you don't, as I said, there's room inspections and items will be removed if they're deemed not to be safe. So just always check first. It makes it easier for you. All the rooms are centrally heated throughout the winter, and common areas are air conditioned, but individual rooms are not air conditioned. The only exceptions there are Lena Carmel Lodge and Warrnambool Lodge. So you will be comfortable, but please be aware that that's the style of room that you're coming into. In most of the residents, you're going to share the bathrooms with people on your floor or apartment. And if you're in a catered residence, you'll have your meals in a dining room, or you will make your own meals in a communal kitchen or apartment if you're in self-catered. So with the bathrooms, they're all locked, secure, clean cubicles. They're all unisex. So that's fine, and everyone doesn't have an issue, but just be aware of that. If for some reason, be that medical, cultural, that you need your own bathroom, you need to consider applying for a single self-contained studio in one of our lodges. That's the only area that you'd be able to take that style if you needed that for a particular reason. Otherwise, as I said, you won't have any problems, but if you have a reason that you have to have your own private facilities, then that's what you need to look at. And if you're concerned, you can email us, speak to me, and I can sort of give you the general direction on which you need to go. Your room will be secure. You're given an access card. It'll only be you that can get into that room, and also the building after hours. So the building will be on free access through staff when staff are there. But after hours, that gets locked down, and you'll need a card to get into that building and into your room, etc. So you just need to be mindful. Everything's secure here, it's safe. You just need to be mindful of who you let in. Remember, if you're bringing people back with you, you're responsible for those people. You know, and that affects you. If you bring people in, you've got to think about how their behaviour is going to affect, you know, you and your occupancy agreement and obligations in that residence. So just be careful of that as well. So a little bit about the cost, which everyone loves to hear about, not really. When you receive your formal offer of accommodation, in the letter, that email letter you'll receive, it'll tell you what your acceptance fees are to secure the offer. So they're going to be different for each residence, but generally, just to give you a bit of an idea, there's going to be a refundable deposit, and that's something that we hold while you're under contract. When you completely finish your contract, check out for good, that's given back to you, given there's no debt on your account or no damage to the room, that would be refunded. There's also a registration fee, a resident committee fee, and 2 weeks rent in advance. So as I said, it's going to depend on the location, but budget for around $2,000 up to $2,400, and that varies whether it's catered, self-catered, self-contained studio, etc. Your weekly rent can be anywhere from $230 a week, and it can go up to as much as $430 again, when you're looking at self-catered rooms and then fully catered up at the higher end of the scale. So with your catered, you're looking at 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. So hence all that's taken care of. Self-catered, you're paying your rent and then buying your own food and cooking in the apartment or in your communal kitchen. All of the fees include utilities and internet, and there's also wireless in all the locations that you'd be allocated to. So the cost comparison's up on the website now, and I go through it and have a look. It's really important, as I said, to budget for all variances. I know that everyone would love to go to the cheapest location, but that's not possible. So, you know, if you're saying I'm only going to afford X amount of dollars a week, you may get something that's offered to you that could be $40 more. So, and certainly if you can't do that, we can talk about off-campus options and give you some information about that. But you have to realise that that could change. So jump on now and have a look so that there's no surprises when those offers start coming out. So once you accept your offer, then when you check in, you'll have to give your details of Australian bank account so that we can direct debit your rent on a fortnightly basis. So, you know, you'll be given, you know, some time to do that when you come. You don't have to have that the very first day, but you'll get all the forms, etc., and your residents will follow that up with you. You are welcome to pay up front for a semester if you wanted, but most people just do the direct debit because it's easier and, yeah, most will keep your own money, spend it. So it's just going to talk about some of the residents, a quick overview. Again, as I said, this is on the website, and I really hope that you have a look so that you know. Just for next year though, if we look at catering, you've got somewhere like Bruce Hall, Bergman College, John 23rd and Ursula Hall. They're fully catered, so 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. Then we've got, next year we've got Wright Hall coming online. That's one of our new residents, and that's actually flexi-cater, which is really exciting. So that's 16 meals per week. So what will happen is you'll get those meals to make up how you want. But in that residence, that will also have a cafe, and you'll be able to, you know, purchase extra things there. You know, there's be no shortage if you want to top up. You can't accumulate those meals though, the 16 meals. So if you don't, you know, if you use 10, then you can't sort of top up the next week with the extras. So if you don't use them, you're going to lose it. But 16 is a good option too for someone that doesn't want completely fully catered, because, you know, you might do sort of, you know, breakfast, dinner, and make your own arrangements for lunch. So you can do whatever you want with that. So that's a good option that we've got coming online. Our self-catered is Burton Garran Hall, Fenner Hall, Woomburn Hall, and Toad Hall. Toad Hall I have put there, that is mature age only, but if some of you that are coming over, you could still be an undergraduate, but you have to be 24 years or older to go to Toad. So that's an option for more mature age undergrads or postgrads. But the top 3 there are our self-catered. They're the single room shared facilities. And then we look at our 4 lodges that come down next. Again, they're self-contained, but they're the single studios or multi-share apartments. So anywhere from a 2 to 6 bedroom multi-share apartment. Again, stressing it's your own room. But in our lodges, that's the newest style. As I said, apartment living, you might share the, you know, your kitchen and your bathroom with 2 other people. Or our other halls, you're on a floor sharing those facilities. So there's lots of different styles there, and as I said, they're all great residents. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to affect some of you that may be with us today, but just to let you know that our graduate students aren't covered by the accommodation guarantee unless they're coming through the official exchange program here that Brooke would have already alerted me to. So don't worry if we say this, but if you're on that list we've received from them, that's fine. You're under a special cover if you are a graduate or doing a graduate program here. But yeah, generally we don't guarantee graduate students. There are limited accommodation on campus for postgrads. So it's good if you are part of the global programs and you are registered that you can still take accommodation with us. If you want to look at something off campus, I mean, that's fine. All our student accommodation is awesome, but some people do like to live off campus, or you may be coming with another friend, then that's something you want to do. It's start to have a look and think about the cost of housing and the associated expenses, because there's things that you need to think about. Transport, how far it is from ANU, you know, bonds, gas, electricity, all those things. But any of you coming, regardless of what option you take, please do not arrive here without having some accommodation secured. If you received an accommodation offer, that's great, you've locked in your contract, but you are coming early and we can't get you in earlier to the residence, make sure you book some short-term accommodation, like a hotel, a youth hostel, just as a base when you arrive, don't just come and think, oh, well, I can just check in earlier, because if we haven't been able to offer that before you arrive, we're not going to be able to. We could have conferences, maintenance, and students still in room. So that is really important. If you're going to take an off-campus option and look for, rental off-campus, again, get yourself a base. Do not arrive without something, because there are so many people coming at the beginning of the year that accommodation's at a premium. So, just get yourself something locked in so that you've got somewhere to sleep and set up for those, at least that first week or so. Over that. Just some off-campus options that we can talk about again as arriving. The Canberra City Youth Hostel, that's up the top. Again, all these links are on our website, but that's really good for arriving. They have clean, secure accommodation. It's really close to ANU, so that's a good, just a little short-term base. Then somewhere like Whedon Lodge, University of Canberra Village, they are slightly off campus, about 10-minute bus ride, but they do offer student accommodation, and they will take ANU students if that's where you want to go. Or for some reason you missed this deadline and we can't help you, these are some other areas to look at. The Institute of Sport, it's fully catered, again, another good option. They will take ANU students. So that's all on our website. We've also got some information about the off-campus. So Housing Online is a free service that we have, and you can go on now. People just post ads there for share accommodation or houses to rent. Now, we look through the ad the best we can. We don't go out and view the properties as such, but we are trying to go through those ads to make them as, as legitimate as possible. But always, and we have information on the website about renting, please do not hand over money to people before you come. That would not be something that you would do. If you want to go off campus and you find a house and a person says to you, you've got to send me $1,000 immediately, do not do it. There's something, that's not how it would be, and you have to be very mindful of scams. So you're always welcome to contact us if you're not sure. We can give you some advice. But there's some good options there on those links that you can go through about off-campus housing if you decide to go with that option. And if you do, there's just a map there with just some suburbs that are close by. As we've said before, just don't hand over money. Always check with us if you need any advice if you want to rent, outside of the campus. So just a couple of things that you need to remember. You have to have a complete application in by the 19th of December at midnight to be considered for the guarantee. You need to pay your course fees by the 11th of January for us to pick you up under that guarantee. We can't guarantee the preference, so look at all of them that I've just nagged you about and different costs, because that's really important. If you come and you're fully aware of this, you'll be prepared to come in and nothing will come as a surprise to you. If you apply for catered accommodation, you may get self-catered if we don't have enough catered places. So don't worry, we have lots of places in and around the campus. You can access meals, there's lots of eating places, grocery stores. We sometimes do run out of catered places at the beginning of the year because it gets a little bit more overwhelmed, but we do have new residents coming online next year, so hopefully we'll avert that, but it's something to be mindful of. So if you can't cook, you really have to start learning now, just in the sad situation that you might have to go to self-catered. We talked about that offers will start after the final closing date of the 19th of December. So on the 20th, we'll certainly start with some. We'll roll them out, as I said. Please don't worry if you don't get one on the 20th. It's going to take us a couple of weeks to get everyone placed. We've got a lot of people coming in. You will only have the 48 hours, so be on your email, just, jumping on, checking. As I said, don't panic if it's a weekend and you can't contact someone. Just reply back to the email and, make contact that first business day. We just want to hear from you. If there's just silence, we'll just assume you don't want it. And as I said, we'll lapse it. You won't be under the guarantee anymore, and we'll have to move on to the next person. Make sure you get some off-campus or temporary accommodation, short-term, arriving until your contract starts. If you weren't able to get an earlier check-in, because that's really important. And, you know, book that ahead. We've got lots of people coming in. And if you've got any concerns, you can contact our office. So the email address is up there and you have that from your application. But when you do, please make sure that you put in your name, your first and last name really clearly, your date of birth and the username, that 6-digit ID that you received when you registered, because we have a lot of people and we need to be able to track it. And sometimes people put in their names a little differently to applications, and it's really hard when people just email us and tell us their first name. We don't. We'd love to know who you are, but there's lots of you, so we need to go through this. So that 6-digit ID is really important to us when we're tracking things. So we've got some links up there for you just about our off-campus housing support. So our office, when you arrive, so you, as I said, you can contact us anytime through the email, but when you arrive in Canberra, you're welcome to come into our office at any time. We've got phones here, computers, bus timetables, etc., and we can talk through any questions you have. And even while you're in residence through the year, if you feel that you want some advice with your accommodation or some clarification, you can always, use us to get that information from. If you feel that you don't know where to go or you don't want to ask your actual residents, but they're always the best first point of contact. But if there's anything else a little bit more delicate, you're welcome to visit with us. So that's just a really quick overview. I hope I've touched on some of the things for you, but you're welcome to ask questions now. And if you think of even something after that comes to you, then please just email us and we can certainly, get back to you with that.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kathy. We really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat to us about all of that. On that note, if any of you do have questions, feel free to pop them into the little chat window and we will be able to give you some answers. Now is a really good opportunity if you do have any questions to ask them of Kathy or myself and Claire if you've got any sort of general questions about your exchange or study abroad program as well. This will be or is being recorded and will be made available online as well. So if you have any friends or if you've just joined now and have missed the beginning part of the session, we will be emailing a link out to the online version of this webinar later on today as well. So we don't have anyone popping in any questions at the moment, which is great because that just means that Kathy covered everything that you guys wanted to know.
Guys.
Oh, we've got a question. So can you check into your accommodations weeks after the check-in date of February 1st to 6th?
Yeah, you can, but as I said before, the contract dates that you get in your offer letter, so say you got offered from a location that starts on the 1st of Feb, you can certainly arrive on the 14th of Feb, but you're paying from the 1st of Feb or you're paying from the 6th. You're paying from the start of the contract, as I said, right up to the end of the contract, regardless of when you want to arrive or when you want to check out. So you are obligated to pay. I just would suggest to you, though, that if you get your offer, whichever date that was, and you're not planning on arriving straight away, you accept your offer, etc., please let the residents know. Just shoot them an email after you accept and say, I'm aware that my contract starts on the 6th or whatever it may be. I'm doing stuff at home. I'm not going to arrive until the 12th. Just so that they're not looking for you because, they've got check-in packs ready and they're just keeping an eye out for everyone. It's a real community and you'll find that when you come here to staff and your senior resident, they'll be wondering where you are. So it's just good to know that everything's okay with you and that you're on your way.
So I hope that answers your question. What was I going to say? So we've got our orientation program as well with global programs that you guys are hopefully very well aware of. So we've got our Sydney orientation session that runs from the 12th to the 14th of February. That's really cool. I'm actually probably coming along to that one, so anyone that comes, I'll get to meet you guys then. We're just basically going to take you guys around Sydney, which is a pretty popular spot that everyone wants to go and see. show you the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge and the famous Bondi Beach. And then we'll pop you on a bus the next day and take you for a drive to Jervis Bay, which is world famous for the widest sand beach in the world. And we'll pop you on a dolphin watching cruise, which will be a lot of fun. It'll be a really good opportunity for you to see a little bit of Australia before you sort of start your studies, and also to meet some friendly faces that you'll kind of see a lot over the time that you're here. The other intention of that trip is that it can be a little bit pricey or expensive to fly into Canberra. So the idea of that trip is for anyone who is arriving into Sydney, it will actually start in Sydney and end in Canberra. So if you are organising your flights, booking your flights, you can organise for that to happen, to arrive into Sydney on the 12th of February, and we will pick you up and the tour will end in Canberra, and we will help you find your way to your on-campus accommodation as well. Okay, thanks for letting me know that, Molly. I will get in touch with the company that is running the trip for us, and I'll send an email out later today with an updated link if that one's not working. So thanks for letting me know. Perfect. Sorry, the point of talking about orientation as well was to let you know that your accommodations, if you do choose to stay on campus, they will all have their own orientation schedules as well. We really, really, really strongly recommend that you go along to as much of that as you can. Orientation is obviously a big thing on any university campus. But the reason that we really like you to go along to those is because these are the people that you're going to be living with for the next 6 or 12 months. It's really good to get to know them. It's really good to get to know a little bit about where you're going to be living and what the expectations are and all of the fun things that are going to be on offer for you as well. So you'll get more information about that from your new residents once you receive an offer from them. All right, well, if there's no further questions in the meantime, then I would like to thank Kathy for coming along and chatting to you guys, and to all of you guys who have come along and listened today. We really appreciate it. Like I said, I'll send the link out for the session, so if you've got anyone asking, you can let them know to expect that coming out soon. And if you've got any questions, the university accommodation email address is down the bottom there, and you all definitely have the contact details for global programs, and we're more than happy to help you as well. So we've just got, another question just come through to conclude the session. So for study abroad, exchange in general, are there any groups or clubs that gather international students? Yes, we do have a couple of societies on campus. We have the International Student Society, which is open for any international student that's studying at ANU. We also have the ANU Exchange Network, which is a student society run for students that are here on exchange or study abroad programs, or students from ANU that are either interested in going on one of these programs or that have been on one of these programs. So it's a really good way to get to know other exchange students, but also some domestic students as well, and to tell them a little bit about where you're from and your home university as well. The ANU Exchange Network will be attending a lot of our orientation activities, so you'll definitely get to meet them and learn a little bit more about their society as well. So I hope that answers your question. There is in Orientation Week, which runs from the 18th to the 22nd of February, there is on the Wednesday also what we call ANU Market Day. And all of the clubs and societies on campus will have a stall there. So strongly recommend that you take a bit of a wander around there. Any extracurricular interest or activity that you have, there will be a club or society on campus that will reflect that interest. So, all right, well, I will wrap it up, but if anyone does have any follow-up questions, do feel free to email us, and myself or Claire we'll get back to you, or if you email Accommodation, you'll hear from the lovely Kathy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.